Alright guys, the time is now for a showdown between the High Elves, who are going to be led by Tyrion, and Bretonnia, who's going to be led by King Louen. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So as far as the build goes, we're going to be going with a bit of a High Elf Helm's Deep build. So essentially, we're not really going to be trying to contest the open field against Bretonnia, which is a little bit dangerous anyways. They have Grail Knights, they have Questing Knights, they have a ton of really cost-effective mobile options, right? So I figured we go with a bit of a Porcupine style of play where we have a bunch of spears and pointy sticks. In the back, we do have two groups of the Phoenix Guard, which are actually really powerful against Bretonnia. These bad boys do have 36 weapon strength, which isn't the best, but really good armor piercing values, and then also a bonus first large of 20, which is huge. So against Bretonnian Cav, these guys are going to hold all day. They have 52 melee defense, 46 melee attack, pretty much perfect leadership. I mean, these guys will generally fight down to the last man, so they are just incredibly powerful in that respect. And they also do have 30% physical resist. Now, some of the Bretonnian units do have magic damage, but for the most part, these guys are going to be linebackers. They're going to hold all day, and honestly, they can do pretty well against most infantry on top of that. So two groups of them in the back just to kind of secure the flanks. For our firepower, we have two groups of the Sisters of Averlorn, which definitely could do some good work against Bretonnia. Some of the Bretonnian Knights do have physical resist, so let's actually go ahead and see which ones he has lurking in the forests here. It looks like he does have some Grail Knights here. And again, these bad boys do have physical resist, so having the magic damage on those arrows is actually quite useful. So two groups of the Sisters of Averlorn here, going to be using them to do the heavy lifting and focus down the cav. It's going to be a very defensive game here, essentially, right? The Bretonnians are going to be trying to find ways to get in my back line, shut down the Sisters, and I'm just going to be having to shift with my spears the entire time to try and keep them out, which is very, very stressful for sure. So we got two groups of Phoenix Guard, two Sisters of Averlorn to do the heavy hitting. Front line of Spearmen, obviously high melee defense, pretty cheap. They can usually fight off men-at-arms and lower tier troops, so Spearmen are just a great choice. Obviously, Foot Squires eventually will get through them, and they will get worn out over a long fight, but they're definitely Old Faithful up here in the front. In the back, two more Spearmen, I think, or actually just one more. For our leadership, we do have Tyrion. Tyrion is definitely a gangster. Sunfang is great at roasting hordes of peasants. On top of that, he's a very powerful duelist. He could, if they have like a King Louen or an Uncle Albert, he's going to be able to chase them down and keep them honest. And with his new armor piercing that he got changed recently in the Curse of the Vampire Koso, he pretty much just has massively higher armor piercing values now. He's actually pretty good against Bretonnian Knights. So we do have him. And a High Mage. High Mage, I think, is one of the better choices here. Apotheosis is very good, and the Shield of Safri is a very powerful passive because it gives your entire army ward save when you cast spells. And then also we do have the Tempest. So Tempest is pretty good against big, powerful lords like King Louen, who you do see in this matchup. I think that Fey Enchantress is really good, but so is Louen here. He does have the Lion's Shield, which can give him magic resist and missile resist. So yeah, pretty good against my troops. Last but not least, the icing on the cake. And I think the Frostheart Phoenix is really good in the defensive game here. Because if you look here, let's go ahead and see if we can get him. This always happens to me. I know if you like click it, sometimes it'll get it, but there we go. So he does give -9 melee attack and -10 armor piercing damage. So the melee attack is the big one. And when you're playing this Porcupine style of play, this guy is going to be debuffing all the troops that are coming in and attacking. It gives you some battlefield presence, and he can definitely do some work. So that's pretty much it. Very defensive force. I thought about getting a couple Reavers, which probably would have been a good idea, but he does have mounted yeomen as well as the just heavy knights lurking in the forest. So be a little bit spooky for sure. So for my opponent's forces, he does have King Louen, a whole front line of men-at-arms, a couple peasant archers, which I really need to kill quickly. If these peasant archers can get in position and start shooting at my Sisters of Averlorn, that is going to be disastrous. Because, the Sisters have very low armor, these guys are dirt cheap, and I need those guys to kill the knights, right? So I need to focus these guys down pretty quick. He's got Grail Guardians here to be punching through the front line, it looks like. Over in the forest, he's got Grail Knights, some mounted yeomen, and then I think he has the other thing on the far side as well. So in the past, I always felt this was a pretty hard matchup for the High Elves. Again, Bretonnia very good at swarming and pressuring, but I definitely think that this build has some punch here. So out of the gates, we're going to be shooting at King Louen with our Sisters, but we are going to be very conservative with their ammo. We're not going to be, just shooting at anything that gets in range. I actually have them on manual fire, so they're not going to shoot until I give them orders to, or if I put them on a target, they'll keep shooting it until I tell them to switch. So I'm really going to be trying to save my ammo here. In the meantime, I'm going to be scooting forward a little bit, and I see him moving up with his peasant archers to try and trade with my Sisters. So I'm just going to be unleashing hell on these guys, focusing them down. They have pretty poor leadership. They can definitely get routed off the field very quickly here. And I'm also flying up the Frostheart Phoenix. I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. I need to shut these guys down to stabilize here. So I fly in there, just getting roasted. The Phoenix obviously causes terror. My opponent comes in with Louen, but I don't mind the trade here because I do have Apotheosis. And you can see here, we terror out one group. The other one is taking massive damage as well. So we basically buckle two groups, right? That's temporarily going to shut those guys down. I did pull up Tyrion as well to maybe help against Louen, but I decided to just run back with the Frostheart Phoenix here. And then I do a bit of a juke. I run past Louen, and I'm going to go back and start harassing those archers again, just focusing them with everything I can, trying to get them back. And they will be rallying, but for the most part, if I keep punishing them like that, they're probably eventually going to shatter or, if not become pretty much obsolete here in this battle. So right now, forming that defensive geometry here, the spears are going to be dealing with these peasant mobs. Phoenix Guard are guarding against the forest pressure. And yeah, just trying to optimize my firepower, just still shooting at those peasant archers in the back, using the Frostheart Phoenix as a bit of a distraction card effects here, just running in circles, occupying Louen's attention, which is very nice. And you can see the peasant bowman breaking again. So my opponent's had enough. He's going to be charging down the hill with the Grail Guardians coming right into the pipes here, which is probably going to do some decent work. On the flanks, you can see I do have these Phoenix Guard guarding against this onslaught, so just trying to defend. And whenever my Phoenix isn't, busy pressuring the back line, I'm going to be using him in the front to chase off these low-tier troops. Now, his cav are going to be charging in, the Grail Guardians coming into the front, but they are going to be taking some heavy firepower from the Sisters of Averlorn. Of course, that nice AP damage, and it looks like King Louen's potentially going to be diving in as well, but we definitely need to put down these knights. Like, we can't let them fight, and I also do move in the pigeon there to lower their melee attack. Melee attack or melee defense? I always get that confused. But anyways, right here, King Louen's going to be going in as well. He does get a decent little jump on Tyrion, but I do use the feint and riposte, but well played by my opponent. He's able to get some free damage, and I do decide to push in with Tyrion as well as the Phoenix, and we get a little bit of damage. And I thought for a moment, I'm like, I'm going to send the Phoenix Guard here because this is a very pitched fight, right? Regrowth going down. He has knights committed to the front line. And, a Sunfang over there as well, massively roasting those two groups of men-at-arms. Yeah, they're pretty dirt cheap. They cost like $350, but still, that's like decent, right? It opens up these spearmen to be defending other areas and is definitely worth it, in my opinion. So the Phoenix Guard are going to be forming ranks to intercept these men-at-arms here, is trying to keep it tight so my opponent can't fit through and get his knights into the cookie jar. These spearmen are going to form ranks here, and I'm trying to stay disciplined, pulling back these Phoenix Guard to kind of seal this opening. In the meantime, Louen is flying around in the skies, getting ready to strike again. So I'm going to be using Tempest on him in just a moment. The knights in the back do charge into the spears, just trying to just bull rush their way through, right? But I have the Phoenix Guard waiting. You can see another group of Grail Knights is going to be coming in, and they find that they can't get through. The charge defense definitely quite helpful. They are going to be punting a couple of them, but they're going to take some damage as well. And that Tempest is able to kind of do some okay work against Louen as well. So here in the front, Frostheart Phoenix is going to be debuffing all these guys. The Grail Knights still trying to force through the front line here. And let's go ahead and take a look just to be sure. So yeah, it does lower their melee attack, so their offensive capabilities. So it's going pretty well. Spearmen in the front are holding for the most part. Spearmen in the back are fending off the mounted yeomen. And there really aren't any openings here. There is a bit of a pocket right here where my Phoenix Guard just fell back a little bit too far. He's going to charge in, so I don't get the charge defense, a little bit sloppy. He does get some of the sisters, but he's coming into a bunch of spears and halberds, and I still have this one pocket. So now that I'm collapsing a little bit on this far side, the spearmen here are being overwhelmed by King Louen. Just sheer numbers, peasant mobs, men-at-arms. They're probably going to falter here in just a moment. I'm going to be reforming my ranks and just focusing on defending these Sisters of Averlorn. However, they are generating really good value. They've almost used all of their ammunition, at least this one group here has. The other one's down to about 30%. And it's been pretty optimal use. It's just been shooting at Grail Knights, high-value targets, getting a massive, beautiful volley there on King Louen, who does use the Lion Shield. Well played to my opponent, very on top of his game. But the Phoenix Guard are holding off these Grail Knights. The Pigeon's going to come in and lower their melee attack, putting it down to 29, which is definitely pretty damn low against the extremely high melee defense of these Phoenix Guard here. So again, forming an even tighter pocket. You can see here these Phoenix Guard form up, these spears form up. Right here, I'm able to buckle these guys back, so I probably will be pulling these spearmen back into formation here. And Tyrion, in the meantime, is here just kind of helping to defend against these knights. And yeah, this one group of sisters, I mean, they definitely paid their dues. They did some heavy damage against the big targets here. Another Tempest going down, and really not trying to capture, because you can't cast it on things when they're grounded anymore, even if they're flying units. You used to be able to, but trying to take out and do as much damage as I can to Louen. So in the back here, Tyrion does get a nice little pick. He's a very good assassin here, 103.99. He's going to be going after that damsel, hopefully able to take her out. And the one group of sisters pretty much, ran out of steam, but the other one is full health for the most part, just unleashing all the volleys they can on these Bretonnian knights as they do drive-by. I'm also going to be pulling back with the Frostheart Phoenix. So again, maintaining that defensive posture, being very patient and disciplined here. A beautiful charge from my opponent, getting a rear charge into the Phoenix Guard right here. But at least they're Phoenix Guard, right? They do have the Apotheosis, and the Phoenix is going to charge in, lowering the offensive stats of the Grail Knights and some of these other Bretonnian troops. So very, very pitched battle. These spearmen are just holding back wave after wave of the Bretonnian infantry, and his peasant archers are back online, probably going to start shooting at my archers, I'm guessing. And it looks like King Louen is going to be going after the Frostheart Pigeon here, and that's not a good trade for me. So you can see the Bretonnians swarming in again, overwhelming this position. The Phoenix Guard are just holding to the bitter end, but the Sword of Couronne, very good play. It's going to lower their melee defense to 13, and they're going to get chunked out really quick by these troops with the Sword of Couronne. So I'm basically in my last pocket right here. The Frostheart Phoenix is going to jump in and attack King Louen. The sisters are pretty much out of ammo. So at this point, I was kind of happy. I'm like, okay, it's going to devolve into a bit of a pit fight now. Can my remaining Phoenix Guard plus Tyrion and my spears and the sisters, who aren't pushovers in melee, although they're getting massacred by those peasant bowmen in the back. So that's why I needed to focus them so hard in the beginning. But can my troops hold? Can Tyrion win out against King Louen right here? And we do get a really big punch. King Louen takes a ton of damage. Lion Shield going down, and it looks like the Sword of Couronne, again, just so much value, putting the melee defense of these really, defensive troops here down to quite a low point. Anyways, the Frostheart Phoenix, again, is lowering the melee attack of all these nearby troops, and that's why I think he's so good in this matchup. And even if the Bretonnians do go with a heavy air force, you're going to have Tempest, you're going to have the Sisters of Averlorn, you're going to have some elements with which to support the Frostheart Phoenix. And Tyrion in here just being an absolute boss, just kind of slaying and cleaving these Bretonnians up to 75 kills. And also note, I still do have the Heart of Avalorn, so if he does get really beat up, he could potentially heal up to, you know, almost full health. I haven't really used too many heals on him yet, so he's definitely going to get a lot of value out of the Heart if it comes to that. However, the biggest obstacle for my opponent is going to be the elite of the High Elves here, the Phoenix Guard, 147 direct kills, just fighting to the bitter end, and they're only tired, so they're not exhausted yet. They've been fighting a long time. Granted, they were kind of on guard duty for parts of the formation, but Louen charging in gets a huge charge right there on the Frostheart Phoenix, and is he going to get the damage in? It looks like the Phoenix's melee defense did not hold up. Again, it was in the back there, and 900, 500 man. Louen just giving the business to this Phoenix, pulling the bounce of power back to the middle a little bit, and yeah, I do try and use stand your ground to keep him alive, to give him some melee defense, and I'm trying to get him away, like out of this pocket, but the mounted yeomen are actually pinning me in here. I wanted to get him back, have him go after some of these peasant bowmen. These spearmen in the back trying to rush into the archers here, but they are going to be intercepted by the noble knights of Bretonnia, and they're going to be lanced, but they're going to take some damage on the return as well from the anti-large bonus of those spears, and it looks like some mounted yeomen are going to be pulled back to intercept those guys as well. So that does free up the Frostheart Pigeon to maybe go after these archers in the back. It looks like they do have 57 models, so definitely have a little bit of punch left and have about 4 volleys. Tyrion is slightly surrounded here, but again, the Faint Riposte makes him pretty much invincible, right? 99 melee defense as well as a massive physical resist. And the Phoenix Guard in the low ground, 74 here, are able to fend off the men-at-arms, and now I can form a true Helm's Deep, right? I can get Tyrion, the High Mage, and all these guys fighting on top of each other, and hopefully I'll be able to grind out the Bretonnian forces. So back here in the backfield, you can see the Frostheart Phoenix tearing up some of these peasant bowmen. I don't know if that was really worth it. I probably should have kept him with the main army because he now gets isolated by some of the Grail Knights, of course, anti-large specialists here, and they should be able to kind of chew up this Frostheart Phoenix. So a bit of a misplay, but I really thought I needed to get rid of those archers, but in reality, I probably just could have ignored them and let them run out of ammo. But Tyrion over here is going to be charging these archers, gets a massive charge on those peasant bowmen, is able to take out a couple models. And the Phoenix Guard are going to be following in suit, and they've only lost 1 model this entire game. I mean, these guys are really just MVPs here. Some Sisters of Avalorn in the distance coming back, and again, every chance I get, I'm going to be using this Tempest on Louen. This Tempest, unlike the Howling Warp Gale from the Skaven, actually does some serious damage. You can see here he's taking 200 damage, give or take. Probably going to take 3 or 4 before all is said and done, so definitely very worth it. So just kind of marching around the inexorable advance of the High Elves here is going to be going after the Peasant Bowmen, just trying everything I can to shut down his resources. Now he's getting going in for the final Alpha Strike, going to be striking with the Mounted Yeomen and some of his other cav. I think he has some Grail Knights here, so it looks like only 5, but the Phoenix Guard are in their element. They're fighting large targets. Lewin's going to be coming in as well. He gets a nice little dive here on the flank, does pop the Sword of Corone, which is going to make his units do so much more damage. And I get a pretty fat Sunfang. Now, it doesn't do the most against armor, but I'm actually able to buckle the remaining Grail Knights and the Mounted Yeomen. I probably should have saved it for like this infantry blob coming in, but I just wanted to get it off as quick as I could. Over here, Tyrion's going to be charging King Louen. Louen definitely pretty strong here, but I mean, he is in the wrong neighborhood. Tyrion is about half health. Louen is like 1 or 2 strikes away from falling. And the Bretonnian infantry are just going to be rushing in for the lady, trying their best to get back in this battle. But Tyrion is just holding firm, rallying his Phoenix Guard here. And it looks like he's going to come into the back. And a beautiful charge from my opponent here, getting my High Mage. And you can see the bounce bar does creep back into the middle for a second. But Tyrion is not going to have any of that. Tyrion does rush out and is going to go after King Louen. And it looks like Louen might be able to get away. Tyrion did do a little damage, I think. I'm not sure if he did. But at the very least, we fend him off there. He's going to have to go back up into the skies. And the Phoenix Guard shouldn't have too many problems dealing with like men-at-arms and peasants. And Tyrion's also going to charge back in. So my opponent does have some options in regards to like charging me with King Louen. You can see a couple of these Sisters of Avalorn loosing their last arrows here on King Louen, but they don't really do any damage. But Louen is at his cap now, so he's not going to be healing anymore. Tyrion is just feasting on these peasants, and none of them have spears or anything, so he's going to be just A-okay. He does shatter the 26 men-at-arms here. The Phoenix Guard not barely losing anything. Like, man, they've just been fighting so long against the hordes of infantry here. And now it looks like King Louen's probably going to come in for his last strike because the Bounds of Power is really starting to slip away from Bretonnia. Louen's probably going to, I would assume, charge Tyrion, but I don't think he's going to be able to do much as Tyrion is pretty healthy. And I think I still have the Faint and Riposte on cooldown, not sure, but the Phoenix Guard are going to be charging the last of these archers just to ensure they don't take any free fire. And you can see Louen's coming in with the full chub. So I do a bit of a cutback trying to juke him out, and it looks like I did juke it a little bit, but Tyrion's going to go in now, and 1,000 HP. He's going to be taking some big old hits here as the Phoenix Guard start to poke him down. And Tyrion is going to make solid contact with him as well. So that's going to be all shoot out for the Bretonnians. Very well played to my opponent. That was a super close, fun, back and forth game. And I feel like that's a really fun matchup. Like, I mean, you can contest the Cav game, but I really feel like it's not worth it because the Grail Knights do magic damage against the physical resist of your Dragon Princes, right? And then King Louen is there. They have Lure of Life. It's just really tough. Louen's going to fly in with the Sword of Corone, and they're just going to butter up your Dragon Princes. So I feel like playing a little bit more defensive, maybe with some monstrous support. Like, even a Dragon could have been good there, right? On top of all these guys, but Frostheart Phoenix with his AoE aura, lowering melee attack by 9. Tyrion, of course, very good at fending off powerful lords. And the Spears and the Phoenix Guard were the name of the game. But my opponent did a really good job actually collapsing this group. But the other one was able to kind of survive until the late game and really just fought to the bitter end. So that was really fun to see those guys in action. Top of that, Sisters of Averlorn, quite solid. They didn't get the most kills, but they were just explicitly shooting at, a couple peasant bowmen in the beginning. But on top of that, all the arrow fire went into Grail Knights and the targets I really needed to potentially pull out that game. So my opponent's build was solid. I mean, it was a close game. Could have gone either way with a couple different plays. So again, very well played my opponent's swagger. Look forward to running into again on ladder. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this High Elf vs Bretonnia game. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.